It's a beautiful brand new day. Yep, one of my favorite songs by Sarkodie. Today we're on a roll with Sarkodie. Anyway, if you just tuned in, you're watching TV3 New Day, and up next we're going to have a conversation on some politics. Over the weekend, there was one of the NPP parliamentary primaries in Dadekotopon, where the driver of the president won gracefully, and my colleague from the political desk, Duke Mensah Opoku, is here in the studios with us. Hi, Duke.
Hello, now.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
It's great to have you.
Same here.
Were you at Ladma over the weekend?
Yes.
Yes, you were there.
Happens to be the constituency in which I live.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so
that's the area for the very affluent in the society. You know that.
It's how do I put it?
Just claim it. Just claim it.
It's a mixed zone.
It's a mixed zone.
So you have the affluent part and the not so affluent part.
But you live towards the affluent part.
Why do you want GRA
from chain homes?
Why do you want GRA to relook at my tax paper?
Anyway, so this weekend, one of the NPP parliamentary primaries happened in Dadekotopon.
Yes.
And our state driver.
Yeah.
Won.
You can call him.
Yeah, we should call him that.
Yeah.
How did it go? How are things on ground?
It's one of the most orderly primaries I've witnessed in recent times.
Okay.
So I must give it to them. They did a very good job with the orderliness. I mean, it was held at the Zenith University College.
Okay.
So you could actually see everything placed well on their school field, very well demarcated out. Police presence there. I mean, tents were put up with clear markings as to where the delegates were coming from. So immediately you walk in, they check your card, your party card, your ID, and then you are ushered in to go and vote. And then after you vote, if you want to go home, you are free to go home. If you don't want to go home and you want to sit down and observe, there's a tent clearly marked out, And then, of course, they were provided with breakfast, they were provided with lunch, And with the exception of just a few isolated incidents of some acts of sheer political bravado, you would say everything went quiet. Well, it was very orderly. I must give it to them. It's very orderly. By 2 o'clock, everything was done. Sorting ensued, counting, and then the declaration of the result, which everybody was looking out for. But we must put on record that, people may find it strange that 7 months, 8 months to the election, why are they one of the few constituencies that still having a primary? Yeah, so they had a candidate who was acclaimed in August last year, Dr. Gerald Tete Nyanyofio, but for some reason he decided that he would not run again. He has resigned, and because of that, the party found it needful to reorganize primaries. So, so that's what happened, and the contestants, Joseph Addo, who has been driving the president since he was Attorney General.
Wow.
So he's been the president's driver for over 25 years.
Wow.
So, so he was one of the contestants. And then Reverend Solomoni Koikote, that is the municipal chief executive of the Dadekotopon Municipal Assembly, was also the contestant. So it was a straight fight between two personalities.
And it was very keenly contested. The difference was just about 130?
Yeah. So 6-4 and then 5-5-5.
5-5-5,
yes. So just, not even up to 200 votes.
Yeah.
Vote different if you look at what has transpired. And I had cause to do some work in the constituency days prior. We spoke to people, you had the constituents, what the needs, what it would take for the NPP to wrestle back the seat from them, and all sorts of, the interesting political dynamics around the Dadekotopon constituency, which, by the way, is a swing seat, with the exception of Nia Masana Mwale, who won that seat for 3 consecutive terms. The NPP wins, the NDC wins. It's just been that ping-pong political football, that kind of thing. So you call it a swing constituency, really. And so in 2016, it was the NPP that took the seat. Vincent Odote Sowa took that seat from Amasana Mwale, and then Vincent Odote Sowa lost the primary. Nyanyofio, who has now resigned, won. And then Rita Odole Sowa, who's the incumbent, took the seat back for the NDC in the 2020 general election. So, and she's also running again as the candidate. So it looks all set. The stage is set for that contest between Rita Odole Sowa and Joseph Addo in 2024. And it looks like it's going to be interesting. And the candidate himself is asking for unity. He thinks that the rank and file of the party should be united behind him. He very much understands that they may be behind time, looking at the fact that the NDC candidate was affirmed or acclaimed somewhere in May last year.
Yeah.
And it's at the time. She's also the incumbent, so they would have to work extra hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also, yes, and then there's also, I mean, word on the street that a former MP may want to go independent. In fact, certain...
Who?
Over the weekend, I saw leaflets, booklets, campaign material of a former MP, Vincent Odotesua, going around the constituency. I must say, I don't know if he's the one who has sanctioned it, but it's going around. It's going leaflets being circulated in the constituency that he's running on an independent platform. If that happens to be the case, it would change the dynamics of the election. It will complicate
things a bit.
Absolutely.
But was Joseph Addo the obvious favorite of the delegates? You know,
if you speak to, speaking to the rank and file of the party in the constituency, they sort of felt that his connections to the president, having worked for him, knowing him personally, had been of benefit to the constituency. So, so they mentioned that when the party's office was, there was an incident involving the party's office, and they no more had a permanent office, he quickly put together resources. So if you go to the Lao Akweje area, there's a new party office for the constituency, which he personally funded. Apart from that, it's not something that I sit on this platform to endorse as right, but they mentioned it in the constituency that he's been very instrumental in getting a lot of the youth of that area into certain government offices, security agents, and the rest. As I said, it's not
the
something
president's
that...
driver.
So I'll say it's not something that I endorse. But
he's been able to do that.
That is what the constituency say that he's done that. The MC on his part indicated that he had been able to, if you look at the district league table that is annually published, he's been able to move the Dadekotopon Municipal Assembly from somewhere in the region of the 30s to the #1 municipal assembly in the country based on the district league table. So he has a track record.
I see.
Yes, so
he has served the party religiously.
Yes, so he says that he has served the constituency very well, and that he has a track record to win the seat back, considering the fact that Odole Sowa was also an MC before she became MP. So it will be an election based on the comparison of records. But I mean, all sort of accusations on the ground were against him, that there were a number of issues with his human relations, and I mean, there were also allegations against him that he sabotaged the candidate who was...
The one who resigned. That he had something to do with it.
That he had something to do with it. And that he was doing that so that the party would acclaim him as the one who would run, because he was the one who was the MC and was one... All sorts of, elections, all sorts of allegations fly on. So
true and untrue.
Yes, true and untrue. And his candidate, his opponent, his supporters were also accusing Joseph Addo. They are saying that he cannot express himself. He doesn't have that high level of education to go to parliament to represent a constituency like Dadekotopon. So if they elect him, he will go to parliament and he won't talk, because he can't talk, because he doesn't have the sophistication to be a member of parliament for Latma. So it was quite heated. I mean, I had cause to follow some of the candidates around during their canvassing and all of those things. So, and at the end of the day, it was just less than 200 votes that separated the two. Over 1,200 delegates, 1,221.
Very keenly contested. Yes. And when the results were announced, what was the general atmosphere?
Oh, people were excited. Joseph's supporters went round, singing, shouting, and he himself, Joseph, recognizes the need for unity. And so that was the key thing that he mentioned during his acceptance speech, asking for unity, for all the rank and file of the party to be united, to coalesce forces around him so that he will be able to win back the seat for the NPP. The last election, there was a vote difference of about 6,000 vote margin between Rita Sowa and then Dr. Nyanyofio. So that's if all factors are going to stay constant at the starting line, that is the margin, the vote margin that would have to be worked around.
Overcome.
Yeah.
I see. And so come December, the race is going to be between Joseph Addo, Odole, and maybe an independent candidate.
And possibly, yes. And if possibly, Obama.
Oh.
That is, Vincent Odotesua. Possibly.
Okay.
Supposing the flyers we've seen around are going to fly.
Okay.
And he's actually going to contest to go independent. it could be a 3-horse race, because as we've seen in Nigeria, so former members of parliament can be very, they can do quite.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, Joseph. There's been a lot of news coming from there over the weekend.
Yes, because the election is tomorrow, officially campaign ceases 24 hours. So the last what do you call it? Major campaigns, major rallies. No, it happened yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Where the president was there.
That's why the president
officially you can't campaign today. It's a day to the election. So the EC would then be concentrating on logistics, moving around. Candidates will be thinking about logistics, will be doing, of course, last minute, underground submarine campaign and the rest. But publicly, they can't be engaged in such activities. So
now, we know that it's a stronghold of the NPP.
Absolutely.
And so this election is important.
Yes.
But question on the streets is why the president had to be there.
Usually, by-elections are political status symbols. What I mean by that is parties in power like to test the pulse. They like to test their acceptability. They like to test how well they are doing, and then also claim some political credit and political bragging rights, if you like, with by-elections. So usually, you would find every person who matters when it comes, and I said it here last week when I was here, that people who matter when it comes to the government usually descend on a constituency or the conversion of a constituency where there is a by-election, because they want to do everything possible to ensure that either they win, yes, they win the seat to consolidate their gains. And it just has become particularly very, very important, because at this point in time, you have a government that has over 20 roughly of ministers and deputies who have not been approved, because if the MPP or the majority in parliament had decided to recall parliament or trigger the processes for parliament to be recalled, and they had a vote on the ministers because of the fact that the Supreme Court has cleared the way now, and all members were present, it would have been a tie because of unfortunately, the demise of Dr. John Kuma.
Yeah. And
per the new standing orders of Parliament, every vote that's tied is deemed to have been lost. So to have ministers like Okoboy, Lydia Al-Hassan, Dakwa Newman, and all the others who have been vetted and are yet to be approved, to have them fully approved, the MPP desperately needs to win the Ejusu seat, so that they will know that, the status quo will be maintained, or will be restored, if you like, so that you have a member of parliament that gives the MPP the tipping edge in parliament. And for the very first reason, when the first day they come back, they would want to have their ministers, confirmed. And constitution is clear, without prior approval of parliament, you can't act as a minister.
Yes.
So it's very, very important that the MPP needs. And then they have this challenge of a former member of parliament who is trying to make things very, very, very difficult for them. Very, very difficult for them. So for me, I think that what is very important, if you like, is for them, that's what we've seen. That's how come you have all the members of parliament and everybody converging on that constituency. President, vice president, everybody who matters in Ghana's politics converging in the constituency. And we see
one NPP member, former, now running independent.
It's not just the former. It's not just the former member of parliament. It's a three-term MP.
Three-term MP
for the constituency. Yeah. If it was just a former member, it wouldn't have really been rocked the boat like that. But this is a former member of parliament for the constituency who served 3 terms, which means that, if you like, he will have projects to point to. For a 3-term member of parliament, he will have projects to point to. He will have political bases. He would have places that he can call his political stronghold. And if you look at the polling numbers that have been coming out, courtesy Global Info Analytics, it looks like his message is resonating quite well on the ground. So it's all to play for, but of course, there's a reason why Ejusu is a safe seat. So unlike a previous election that you would think would have been a walk in the park for the MPP, all this points to the fact that the MPP needs to work harder to be able to win the seat and then maintain the balance of power when it comes to the numbers in Parliament.
So the seat is no longer safe?
It all depends on it will depend on the outcome of tomorrow's election. But even if the independent candidate wins it, it will still, because what makes a seat swing or safe depends on the number of elections. So if you have 7 elections or 8 elections that have been done, and you have both parties being able to win at least 3 or 4 of these seats, then that makes the seat swing. But just so, with the exception of the year, with the exception of the year, with the exception of the year 1992, which the NPP did not contest, every other election has been won by the NPP. So it's a safe seat, if you like.
All right. So,
yeah. So that's what makes the Ejoso election interesting. Of course, we have our men on the ground, the boots on the ground.
Yes.
Tomorrow will be an interesting election.
I'm sure.
Like none other. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have bought it, just like Kumewu, which is a safe seat. But Akufo-Addo means strong showing so far based on the polling numbers. And even if you monitor the political rhetoric yesterday on the platform, the kind of cagey communication, the upfront communication, the kind of things that you heard the vice president say, that a vote for Akufo-Addo means a vote for the NDC. The president questioning what Akufo-Addo had said, and he himself also coming out to respond. It tells you that he
seemed rather hurt or emotional, if you like, in his response.
I mean, it's to be expected. Yeah. It's all part of the political.
And his opponent actually said that he always knew that he wasn't really
an NDC member, the MP that he handed over. Someone say he's the one who took over from him.
I wondered about that, but anyway, Roland has just joined us.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation if we tend to monitor what the atmosphere is. It's I have to say, it's a purely MPP internal election, right, on a national scale. And so, well, I guess it's the wording that has been that we'll say. But William Evans-Sinkum is joining us right from the constituency, and so good morning to you, Bureau Chief.
To play. You are free to play.
Well,
all right, I'm sure William will be on the ground tomorrow to
bring us everything
detailed information on what's happening there.
That we need to know about what has transpired. What has transpired there. Yeah, but then I think we'll go back to Ejoso. But the vice president also begins his campaign today.
Yes.
Yes. He starts his campaign today.
Isn't it interesting that he has not announced his running mate, even though he begins his tour today? I think William is back on the line. Okay. Roland.
Now, Evans, relating to what the conversation has been, particularly related to the independent candidates, what is it about mainly, and how are the voters reacting to it?
Well, so this one is one tricky election for the ruling New Patriotic Party, and they know it. They know it because they are contesting against somebody who has been with them for 12 years. I'm talking about, representing the people of Ejoso in the Legislative Assembly for 3 consecutive terms. So we are talking about 2008, 2012, and 2016. He resides in Ejoso. He dies in Ejoso, and the political environment of Ejoso knows him, and he also knows the political environment. And that makes him a giant as far as this particular contest is concerned. If you're comparing him with lawyer Kwabena Boateng, then lawyer Kwabena Boateng, you will say that in terms of popularity, in terms of experience, as far as the Ejoso politics is concerned, Addo is a giant. And that makes this one a tricky one for the NPP. But he continued to win some level of sympathy because his campaign has dwelled on what he described as unfair treatment by the party. He's talking about the putting or the completion of the constituency album, which he continues to say that it was done illegally. To him, the late Dr. John Bushekuma had the support from the constituency, from President and national, even though the matter is still in court. He believed that he was given a raw deal, and one of the main reasons, or the main reason why he is contesting. And of course, he's also doing this together with some aggrieved former electoral area coordinators, and of course, polling station executives who are also on the ground. And these are the guys who are campaigning vehemently for him, Roland.
If you compare this election to the Esiama election, Can you say that the tempo is still the same, the rhetoric is still the same, and the outcome, possibly based on what you're picking up being the feedback, could end up in the same outcome?
The only difference is the name of the constituency. This was in Fomena, and this is a Juso constituency. But everything, like, they are twins, if my word is right. I mean, they are almost the same. The only difference here is the constituency. And I get the sense that it's exactly what the ruling government doesn't want it to repeat. The reason why yesterday we saw all the big wigs in the Juso, So we saw the president, the vice president, the chief of staff, almost all the national executive members were there. Then, of course, even in the evening or last night, before a Juso rally came to an end, the majority leader was also there. In fact, the Minister of Agriculture and Member of Parliament for Abetusi, Brian Echampong, was also there. So it tells you the level of seriousness that they attach to this particular election, and maybe one thing that is running in their minds is that never again.
All right. William Evans Inkum, thank you very much. And
yeah, he will be with him throughout tomorrow. He'll be bringing us updates, live updates from tomorrow's by-election, so we know exactly what's happening as is happening live on TV3. Thank you so much, Duke, also for bringing us all the updates.
Yes,
stay with us while we cash out.
All right, so we have to cash out. As you know, it goes with a short code, *439#. I always encourage you, just like I've done, make sure that you save it in your contact list, so that you by a dial, you're in a position to win big.